Nikhil, a very good evening to you. Very firstly, there's a clear lapse in the management that could be seen today. And it is not the first of its kind that's been seen in Bengal. So the question remains, why did the organizer not have a proper planning in place, in structure, to ensure that the smooth execution took place of the program and what lay ahead for the three cities that they are to host Messi in?
Well, just imagine this was an event that was supposed to be a celebration. This was an event that was going to put Kolkata on the world map. This was going to be an event which football fans would have remembered for a lifetime. Instead, what have we got? We've got a moment to forget. The scenes that we saw unfolding there at the Salt Lake Stadium are scenes that are now going to be distributed across the world, because, as you know, Lionel Messi is a global icon. Everything he does makes global news. Those pictures of aggrieved fans taking apart the seats of the stadium, throwing them in the middle, fans walking onto the pitch, vandalizing the property of the stadium, the goal post being pulled out. I mean, those were horrible, horrible scenes that we witnessed. On most occasions, you will point the finger at the fans, but you'd have to say at this time, the men responsible for this has to be the organizers. I believe in the latest, what we're hearing, Satyadu Datta, the organizer, the sole organizer, has been arrested from the Kolkata airport. Remember, he was on his way to Hyderabad. That's where the second leg of the tour was to start. He's, of course, a businessman, a sports enthusiast, and he's the one who's managed to get Lionel Messi. But I think that's where the problem lies. I think, managing a sports event is a very specialized field. And even though a person may have individual connect with a player or may have the finances to sponsor his trip to come to a country, but certain things are best left to professionals, and I think that's where they've been found wanting. I must share some inside details with you. I was in touch with a few people that were party to this event, not directly but indirectly. As you know, there are lots of agencies, lots of sponsors that were on board, and believe you me, I got messages from a lot of them yesterday itself that we're heading towards a disaster. And just to share those inside details, I asked some of my sources as to why do you think you're heading towards a disaster? It should be a celebration. And I was told, because nothing has really been put down on paper. Nobody has any clue as to what the schedule is going to be like. It's all been, put to one man to run the entire show, and he's keeping the cards so close to his chest, nobody knows. And that's eventually, what we got to see as well, of pandemonium on the football pitch. And then I think if you look at the fans, I don't blame them, because a lot of them I was listening to have paid good money to travel from outside Kolkata, bought tickets for 12,000-15,000. Some of those football fans, I believe their monthly salary is 20,000, 30,000, and they paid 10,000 for this ticket. And what did they get? They get merely 15 minutes of Lionel Messi. That too, they can't see him on the giant screen. They have to really strain their neck to catch a glimpse of him. He's walking. There's no game. There's nothing. Imagine someone who's paid 10,000 just to see a small figure in the field for barely about 5 to 7 minutes. Clearly, it was not their money's worth. And that's why I think fans are like that. And I think what makes matters worse is the VIP culture that I'm afraid we've had in this country for very long. You have clear access to politicians who can get their jerseys signed, selfies taken, film stars getting private access, entrepreneurs, big names, cricket stars, from the city of Kolkata. We've seen all of them have got private access and this opportunity to speak to Messi, shake his hand, get their shirts signed, get their kids pictured with him. And then there are these actual football fans who don't even manage to get a glimpse. And I think that is what aggravated the anger of the fans, and that is what led to the scenes that we saw on the football pitch.
You've raised some very pertinent points, and it's ironic how the tonality of us discussing this very event has changed through the day. Nikhil, an event like this ends up scarring the nation in itself and its preparedness for hosting major sports person and other sporting events at large as well, which comes in as quite a disappointment for the sports fraternity at large and those who are aspiring to become athletes from not just this very state, not just this very city, but the nation at large when we look at such incidents taking place.
Well, how does this impact the future events that India would be hosting? It will negatively impact that for sure. As I mentioned earlier, whatever Messi is doing now is going to be making global headlines. The entire universe is going to be watching, because, as you know, football is played in more countries than the members of UN that you have. So that's how popular football is, and that's how popular Lionel Messi is. So this, the world would be noticing. It's going to bring a lot of shame to the country. But in terms of hosting events, and I know directly you're going to link it, let's say, to the Commonwealth Games or the Olympic Games that India is going to organize. I think the difference there is that those games are organized and there's a structure in place. I think this was more a private event handled by people who have no idea how to manage an event of this scale, and that's why things have gone wrong. When you organize an Olympic Games or the Commonwealth Games, or you have other sporting events that you have the IPL here, you have the Hockey World Cups take place in India, and various other big sporting events, and those, I think, still go incident free because you have professionals managing that. So in that sense, and I'll take you back to the Commonwealth Games as well that happened in New Delhi in 2010. Majority of the controversies that were around those games were related to corruption within. As far as the organization of the event was concerned, that was top notch, and I heard foreign athletes at that time, I'd covered those games, also have high praise for how the event was managed. So I think that distinction we'll have to make between a professionally managed event. This, unfortunately, was not a professionally managed event. I don't know what happens from here on, but as I said earlier as well, the kind of information that I'm getting from people who have been on the periphery of this event, the reports aren't good. I don't know how good the next few legs, that is Hyderabad, Mumbai and Delhi, will be. Will they be incident free? I'm not too sure about that as well.